the admin function, arranging transport. That's the feeling with the public sector or private sector. That's the feeling all across. And unfortunately, I feel, being a hardcore HR professional, I feel that we have been responsible for this state of affairs today. And I would like to provoke you, in fact, to some extent, that the state where we are, the place where we should be, are we in that position? Are we at the table? Are we in the strategic making, decision making? I slightly differ with Dr. Rao when he talked about match model, when business strategy and HR strategy working together. Probably that will be the day when I myself as an HR professional would feel that I have contributed to the profession and I have succeeded to a great extent in bringing HR strategy and business strategy happening together. Because generally how organizations see today is first in the corporate strategy, depending from one corporate to another corporate, then the business strategy, and then follows the functional strategy, whether HR strategy or finance strategy or business development strategy. It will be great to see that HR and business working together, working in tandem and working parallel. So with this, I come to my presentation. In fact, can I go to industrial relations to Mr. Reddy was talking about cross-functional team and the team contribution and productivity. To now we are talking about a strategic HR contribution and what it is all about. I would try to company. But I remember since having started my career with SAIL, and that too from Rourkela Steel Plant, where a lot of workforce in 50s, early 50s or 60s, the plant started in 58. So about early 60s, and heat used to be unbearable. You used to go to the shop floor with metal shoes. You cannot go just with the normal shoe. Where we used to talk to Khadia and Handia, Madhu Khadia and Madhu Koda, just symbolically, those kind of people. And then we used to keep our hand on their back and talk to them about family, about children. And they used to feel very happy, they used to feel very titillated. And they feel that my personal officer, in fact all of us were called personal officer those days. My personal officer has come, and in fact when I joined I was very passionate and without any demand from the organization. I used to love to go to the shop floor in the night shift as well, to connect with people, because there used to be a lot of higher issues. Fatal accident, unfortunately, every year we used to face 1 or 2 fatal accidents. And the only thing that worked those days was how many people you know by name, how many people you can connect, and how many people, they know you personally, and how many people you know about their children, where they study, and how many of them you have helped personally in counseling or guiding. That really helped, and that excited people, motivated people. They were not talking about compensation because that used to happen in the ways of prevent with the union, NJCS and all that. After that came the time, can you go to the next please? Motivation. All this started happening, and that we call the era of HRM, human resource management. And today, I feel even the talk of a strategic HRM started when we talked about when everybody in the organization started about 9 to 10 years back, when everybody in this organization is being responsible today for the contribution to the organization, be it HR or finance or sales or operations, every individual is being seen by the CEO as a cost. Then the strategic HR, started being explored. Everybody started saying that how is strategic HR functioning today? How is HR transforming itself from personal management to strategic HR management? Still, I think most of us, if we say very honestly, 60 to 70% of our time goes into still managing the personal function. Even being in a private sector company, I can tell you that most of my time as an head of HR goes into managing admin function. To be very honest to you, 30% time, whether it's HRM or strategic HRM, that activity. Now, when we talk about strategic HRM, how I understand strategic HRM is that how we are partnering with the CEO. When we talk to the CEOs, they say that, HR parameters, HR has not been seen directly contributing and influencing the profitability of a firm or creating the shareholder value. And that has been the most unfortunate, even if today, and that has been so because many of us as a HR executive or HR managers, we have not actually tried to understand and connect the efforts what we do on technical HR or different HR basic compensation and benefits, recruiting, whatever we do, we have not been able to connect this with this slide. In fact, thanks to Rohit, who said that this is one slide which we discussed a lot. And he said that, Vijay, if you look at what has happened in the last 10 years, and he gave me the data from 99 to 2005, this is basically how industries have grown or how companies have grown and where has the growth actually happened. What are the growth drivers? And then we see that we as an HR function, where have we been able to contribute? And that becomes very, very evident that we know that whether we have moved to a strategic HR or we have not moved to a strategic HR. Now, the growth has happened. If you look at the slide, first is portfolio momentum, second is M&A, and the third is the share gain. And you see the portfolio momentum, what it is actually. So portfolio momentum is a revenue gain by the company. A company achieves revenue growth because the segment grows. There is a lot of news about retail today. FDI in retail or retail as an industry has been talked about very much in the media today and very much in the political news. Now, this is something which I call portfolio momentum. The organized retail, which is close to about $25 billion, about 2-3 years back, I think it must have grown. Now, that growth has happened because of portfolio momentum. The growth because the segment has grown. And if you look at the growth that has happened in the companies, that has happened because the segment has grown. 65% of the growth has happened because the segment has grown. Next 35% growth has happened because of merger and acquisition. The companies have grown because of merger and acquisition, that has been 35%. So 95% of the growth in the 100 growing companies is explained by these two. And the 4% growth has happened because of shares. You are competing, sharing the same market. So steel industry, we are competing in the same market. JSW, RINL, SAIL, Tata Steel. So we are sharing the gain. And where is HR contributing today? If you look at how many of us seriously have contributed to the portfolio growth, if you look at Tata Steel, in fact I suddenly recall Tata Steel. Tata Steel was close to 20 billion or so before acquisition of Chorus and Jaguar. After acquiring Chorus, and today they are valued somewhere close to 73 billion. The 3 times, 4 times growth happened of Tata Steel because of the acquisition of Chorus. Now, if you talk to Mr. Pradhan, Satish Pradhan, who is head of Tata Sons, he says that what all efforts have gone into doing this, two cultures, it's not only when you do M&A, it's not only pay scale matching of two companies, but it's integrating two cultures. And what all efforts have gone into doing this. And that's where the HR plays the role. That's where you play the strategic role. Now, how many of us have spent that time being with our CEO and partnering his activity of M&A or partnering his growth in that portfolio? Okay. Most of the time we have been spending in that 4% activity where the companies have grown. Next, talk to one to more CEOs in different companies. I said, what are your expectations? And then I prioritize 3 things. Can you click once again? Then I prioritize based on what he said that you always come to me. You are very good. You come to me saying that yes, whatever you have told I have done, or whatever you wanted I have done. But how many times, if you are talking, if you aspire to be a business partner, how many times you have come to me saying that if you do this, the organization's profitability or the company's profitability will go up, your top line will go up, your revenue will go up. If this HR intervention is going to save some cost, or this HR intervention is going to build capability in the organization, which is going to multiply your revenue, or which is going to multiply your profitability. How many times have you come to me? This reminds me of a story. In fact, one president was quite disturbed, very similar to this, very, very disturbed. Then some gentleman went to him and he said that, why are you disturbed? The president said that, look, this financial market is valuing my firms at half of that of the competitor. And I am worried that if the long-term value of my earnings is not valued properly by the financial market, I remain undervalued and possibly I will become a takeover target. Then the gentleman said that, how are you tell me how are you involving your HR? Or how have you been involving your HR in grappling with this issue? Then the president immediately dismissed that question, saying that this is business, this is not HR. No, my HR is very, very talented. He has launched very innovative recruiting technique. He has launched performance pay by performance. He has very good extensive communication model across the country. But this is business. I do not see all these relevant to creating, to convincing a shareholder or investor which enhances my firm's value. After 6 months, the competitor firm take over that company. That company was taken over by the competitor firm. The sad story here is, the sad part of the story is, can be valued by an investor so that probably the shareholder value is increased and probably the market perception is changed and this firm is seen as the same as the competitor. Now, this is where the strategic HR comes to play, where you can quantify your intangibles, you can value your tangibles, you can connect your HR initiative to be creating value for the shareholder, to be enhancing the firm's value, enhancing the company's value. So, this could have probably happened had the HR been having complete knowledge about the business. Many times we as an HR manager, HR executive, we are very good at our HR function. I know all the best recruitment, methods or techniques. But how many times have we actually tried to understand the business? How many of us know the business as much as our counterparts in the business? Probably the competitor's knowledge, the industry knowledge, the company knowledge, the business where I am, all this knowledge will help me. How am I going to contribute to the business? That is going to help me to be proactive and identify a strategic opportunity and tell my CEO that this is how I can contribute to the business. I am not less than anybody as far as a steel process is concerned. I am not talking about the technical part, but I am talking about the opportunities for steel industry. I being an HR, I will not be technical. I will talk about those opportunities. I dig those opportunities and I partner my CEO and create a belief that you can always contact me or you can discuss with me all the opportunities that's available. Many times, in fact, all these things which I am saying is all practically experienced, or I hear, probably not find it anywhere written, but I have seen that in meetings Many times HR heads are invited in many of the business meetings, many of the board meetings also they are being invited today. But meeting after meeting I see that HR head is sitting quiet. He is his presence is there, but his contribution to the meeting is not there. Now, after 4 or 5 meetings, the CEO and the other members and the chairman and the board, they start feeling that why is HR being called for the meeting? And then the seat which you had in those meetings is taken away. You are not invited next time. Probably you can contribute when you have the knowledge, you have prepared yourself and you talk about those strategic opportunities. This is one which I thought that I should share with you. Second is build leadership across the levels. And if you can see these pictures, each one is leader in it himself or herself. When you talk to the CEOs, and there was an interview published by some research was published by interviewing about 100 CEOs from Fortune 500 companies, and it was asked that what is the most difficult task before them. All of them agreed that they lack leaders. Developing leadership within the organization is the most challenging task for them. They felt that the organization, if somebody leaves who is very good, there becomes a vacuum. And there they want to partner HR. They want HR to facilitate them build that leadership across different levels within the organization. So many of the CEOs felt that if HR is able to partner their initiatives, they will be able to recognize themselves as a business partner, as a strategic partner, a function which is going to de-risk the organization from any vacuum in future. In fact, I have written communicate. Some of the things how you can develop leadership across the organization, and I can give you an example of Rourkela Steel Plant, where Dr. Sahu is still working, and the Rourkela Steel Plant transformation is heading ArcelorMittal today, and we work together on the model called reducing the distance between minds. And it was something like when two people are in love, the distance between mind, even if they are physically poles apart, the distance between their mind is negligible. But when two people are not in love, even if they are dining together, the distance between their minds should be infinite. And based on that, we thought that in an organization where you are sharing workstations or where you are sharing, a room where 10-15 people are sitting, it's very much important to create that synergy within the organization, and we need to reduce the distance which I am talking about. Today they have acquired leadership in their role, and to give you an example, in Vocavets, we had an incentive target where 20 pushings per shift was the target. If you do 20 pushings, you get 100 rupees, for example. Now it came to a situation through that mass contact exercise where at the end, last week of the month, that tribal employee, the tribal worker who is uneducated will go to the control room and will ask that how many pushings are left to earn that incentive. The target was 100 pushing until 25th. He has done 80 or 75. He wanted to know that how many pushings he needs to do to earn that incentive. That kind of awareness and belongingness and ownership we were able to create in that tribal population through sustained exercise which we call mass contact exercise. So, and we created leadership, and the productivity went up. So this communicate is one thing which can, help you let employees internalize the vision of the company and does not remain in the, card. We have seen many of the companies, they give the card where the vision statement is written, and that remains in the wallet of an employee. So we want actually to deep it down and go to the lowest level employees where it says that what is the vision of the company, and when he is able to relate his action actually coming into that, resulting into the outcome of the company or the performance of the company, he will be very, very motivated. You do not need any tool to motivate him. Third point, which we wanted, the criteria which we evolved was, the performance. And then we felt that if I am able to measure the performance of each and every employee, probably my task becomes very easy. And then I can quantify the contribution of each employee to the organization, and I can say to the management that the employee are the investment, the HR is an investment, the employee cost is an investment, it's not an expense, because he has contributed so much, and this is his quantum performance which is measured here to the company. So, if we are able to measure the performance, create a system where we can measure performance of each and every employee, the output of each and every employee, probably we as an HR would be seen as tangibilizing the intangibles, the contribution of the people, and then probably the organization starts feeling that yes, this is where HR is improving the productivity of the organization. Performing work system, there are n number of things together which can create high performing work system. Can you go to the next? Now I want to share one of it was that what is needed from their employees, and from here evolved the HR strategy. So we generally, many of the HR executives come and say that how do we HR strategy needs to be brought. So this is how you can define HR strategy. Can you go to the next? Next, can be a strategic partner. And this is one slide which is a recent development in the field of HR. The gentleman is B.S. Nagesh, who is the pioneer of retail industry in the country. B.S. Nagesh is the vice chairman of Shopper Stop, which is known to all of you. And he started retail in the country. In fact, he started Shopper Stop, and he is the only Indian to be in Retail Hall of Fame. Now, Nagesh, when I was talking to him recently, he said that HR guys are always into managing attrition and talent acquisition and recruitment, but they hardly do any strategic initiative. When you are sharing about this initiative, this is a training initiative which he launched, and it's a breakthrough initiative, and I'm sure that this is going to be replicated in most of the industries. In retail, you see customer care associates who are selling the products in the shop, and they represent the company, whether it's Walmart or whether it's Shopper Stop or any big retailer. The customer care associate is the face of the company. He is representing his company. Now, the need was felt that how do we train this guy? Because he is working there for 10 hours in the shop, and he cannot be spared for training. And company also does not, because he is paid 7,000, 8,000 rupees, company does not want to spend 20,000 or 30,000 on his training, because there is very high attrition, 35 to 40%. So whether he will stay or not, Nagesh came out with this breakthrough idea of having a training in the container. This is a container which moves from one mall to another mall, one retail outlet to another retail outlet, where a customer care associate is trained on etiquette or English or how to interact with the customer or the product, and I think they are charging only 45 rupees per hour. Now this is one breakthrough initiative which is going to change the face of a retail associate, and he is going to be trained, who was not availing any kind of training so far, will avail training and become a better face for the organization. This is what is being, required from an HR professional to come out with, and this is what CEOs of the companies want us to do. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Leadership qualities on management qualities. as per leadership qualities. Can you please elaborate your question a little more?
There is a point, build leadership across the levels. You told about the point, how the leadership qualities should be built from floor level to top level.
Right. So basically, when we talk about strategic management, we talk about top-down approach, and when we talk about developing leaders, we are talking about leaders at all levels. We are talking about bottom-up approach. Now, see, as I was talking about Rourkela steel plant, and leadership is very contextual. You know, leadership can be in different roles. Leadership can be in different functions. Leadership can be in a different grades. A supervisor can be a leader in his own right. You know, a diploma holder can be a leader in his own right. A shift in charge can be a leader of his shift. Now, how do we develop that leadership? And I personally feel, as an HR practitioner, that leadership is all about taking ownership of your area of work. And how do you take ownership of your area of work? How do you inculcate that ownership? Once I see my action in that shift or at that level impacting the output of the company, if a junior level employee, he is able to relate to the profitability of the company, or if he knows, if a junior level employee or semi-skilled worker at the shop floor knows that because of his inaction, there can be an accident and the plant can be stopped for 2 days, which can lead to 8 crores of losses and can impact the profitability of the company, probably he will be very serious about his job. And that's why we started a training called sensitivity analysis. Many of us know that if there is a 1 hour loss, or if the blast furnace stops for 1 hour, how much loss it means in terms of rupees. So the whole idea is that if you are able to create that connection across the organization from bottom level to the senior level, that everyone sees his action or inaction impacting the output of the company, probably he will be able to inculcate ownership, build leadership at different level, and create an organization where everybody is contributing in his own right. Right? The second question is from Mr. Praveen. Any method of calculating ROI in HRD training programs? Right, Mr. Praveen? Yeah. So he's talking about. So I think there is one interruption, small interruption. So we will say hi to Dr. Rao and then.
Chairman, sir. Dr. Shri Y.R. Reddy, sir, to present.
On investment. First of all, we need to know that what has been the cost for any investment. How much has been the investment? You know. So for training, when it comes to training, in fact.